All right, welcome. So this video is how to stay centered when your world is chaotic. So this video is all about keeping yourself centered in the most chaotic or uncomfortable of situations, right? So when your external world is seemingly negative, seemingly chaotic, all over the place, there's a lot of pressure on you from outside sources. How do we actually keep ourselves centered through this? Because the important thing is staying centered within, staying centered in your internal world in order to navigate the chaos and the unpredictability of our daily lives. Quickly, before we get started, if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can go ahead and click the top link in the description. It'll take you over to my Instagram. If you just want to send me a DM over there, we can start up a conversation on Instagram. So how the state of your mind actually determines your reality. So a lot of times what we don't realize is that the chaotic feeling we get from some of the unpredictability of our lives, some of the changing environments, changing tides is something you could say, or a way you could say that, but essentially the constant shifts that we go through in our daily life, these shifts aren't usually what feels entirely chaotic, right? What's really happening is that your brain is almost panicking in response to all of these changes happening throughout the day, or all of these unpredictable events coming up throughout your day, right? So your brain's kind of panicking, and that's what creates this state of anxiety, stress, panic, irritation, right? All of these feelings are coming from your brain being like, hey, what the fuck is going on? Which basically just means that the chaos that we experience isn't actually coming from outside. Oftentimes it's coming from inside. When we are able to calm the mind, a lot of these things that would normally trigger us before don't trigger us in the same way, because there's no panicked response from your brain, because that panicked response is what actually causes you to feel misaligned or out of whack. So your brain is actually going to be the thing that determines the state of your reality. The state of your mind becomes the state of your reality. So when your mind is in a negative place, if your mind is chaotic, right? If there's no clarity in your mind, if you are all over the place, well, things changing outside is going to affect you a lot deeper because you're already scattered, right? So if you already have a messy room and you throw a shirt in there and you throw it on the floor, all you're doing is making an already messy room a little bit messier, right? So for someone who doesn't like having a messy room, it's going to irritate you just that slightest bit more. But the real irritation comes from the fact that the whole fucking room's a mess, right? One shirt being on the floor wouldn't be a big deal. But if you have an entire room that's just a disaster, right, that's going to be overwhelming for your brain. That's what's going to cause this irritation. So if your brain's already scattered and then life throws something at you that scatters you a little bit more, it's going to irritate you or affect you a lot deeper than it would if you were calm and life threw the same exact curveball at you. Whereas when you're calm, right, life can, like I just said, life can throw any curveball it wants at you, and you're able to navigate it a lot differently because you can see clearly, right, what's actually happening, what's actually being thrown at you. But when you're all over the place and you're already having a very difficult time, managing your own life, your own thoughts, what's already going on, and then something else goes wrong that causes you to be a little bit more scattered, well, in that state, it's going to have a greater impact on your mood because your brain is already overwhelmed, right? So because your brain's already overwhelmed, now this new thing that's coming up, this new problem that's coming up is going to trigger a lot more distress internally. So the next thing is dealing with conflict. So even if we are in a place where our mind is stable and our emotions are stable and we're good at processing and handling these emotions and we're good at navigating our brain and navigating the different things that we have to deal with on a daily basis, instead of it being this constant pressure on us to figure certain things out, we kind of have a grip and a grasp on all of these different things. We kind of have some organization in our mind, we have some organization in our lives, in our habits, etc., etc. Even then, when we do face conflict, it can be difficult, right? Everybody experiences difficulties, everybody experiences conflict, everybody experiences depression, anxiety, fear, right? But all of these different negative emotions and any negative circumstance or situation that you could find yourself in, there are always choices, right? There are always decisions that you can make for how you navigate negative things coming up in your life. If you feel fear, you can either ignore the feeling, not completely. You want to embrace the feeling. You want to be like, hey, I observe that I am afraid, but I'm not going to base my actions on said fear. So you pretty much at that point are now ignoring the fear and you are going to move forward anyways. Or you can feed into the fear. You can be like, yeah, man, that is kind of scary. Like, what if I got hurt? What if this happened? What if that happened? And you start to play into the fear. Well, now it's starting to actually take hold. It's actually got somewhat of a grip on you because you now believe some of the things associated with that emotion, with that feeling. And so now there can be more fear brought up as a result, right? If the fear was an entity or like a demon, right, it's going to become more comfortable possessing you, right? The more your thoughts align with its vibration. So the more your thoughts align with the vibration of fear, the more invited it's going to feel when coming into your specific psyche or your specific experience, right? So everything that comes up, everything that you actually experience has choices, right? Things aren't just happening to you. They're often happening for you, right? And that means that everything negative, everything that seems like it's a problem, everything that seems like it's putting you in the wrong direction is actually trying to help you make a choice that would put you in the right direction. It's just we don't always get to see or observe or know why that is, what lesson we're learning in the moment, what the purpose of these difficulties are. But at the end of the day, all of these difficulties are crafted and created perfectly for us, specifically for us by God. If you believe in God and a higher power, you know that basically all of these experiences are created for a reason. Based on universal law, everything that we do has an effect. It's not any different when we talk about things we do in response to people, right? So you could be like, oh, but they made me upset, so they caused me to do this thing. And your action was not the effect, right? Your feeling, your emotion, what you experienced was the effect. Your action is a fresh cause. Your action is a new cause for the next effect, right? So if someone says something negative to you and you feel bad, right? That's the cause and the effect. Now you responding with more negativity isn't the effect, right? It's a new cause, and you're going to have the cause of creating the effect of a negative feeling for that other person. So if everything you put out comes back to you eventually, all of the things that you're doing in response to people being a certain way towards you, all of the things you're doing in outlash or in almost revenge against somebody who does something negative towards you, all of those things are actually going to come back to you, not the other way around, right? You aren't getting justice for yourself by making sure this person also feels like shit, right? You're really just, you're convicting yourself or you're condemning yourself to your own punishment as far as the pain and discomfort of putting that out into the world goes. So every time we come to this crossroads or just a problem in our lives, we have a choice, and these choices determine the outcome. So when it seems like everything is against us, when it seems like everything is going wrong, and when it seems like we have no control, we actually do still have control. We have control over one thing and one thing only ever, which is the decision we make in response to that experience, right? What we're going to do moving forward. And what we do will determine the outcome, right? So if something happened in my business, let's say I lost my YouTube channel today, I could turn around and I could like cry, pout, whine about it, and like get upset and angry and be like, fuck this, fuck YouTube, I'm not doing all that shit over again. Or I can start tomorrow and just as I did today, record a fresh YouTube video, edit that video, get it ready to upload. And then, hey, maybe I got to start a new channel, but at the end of the day, the actions are all the same. After I've like logged into a new account, I can just keep uploading and keep it going and keep moving forward. And I may have to start from zero again, but if I use the same strategy, well, I should be able to grow just as I did before. So based on the decision, I could either maybe get lucky, maybe with a fresh account, I just hit a stride really quickly, and I end up getting way more subscribers than I had on my old channel just because I stayed consistent. Or maybe nothing happens, but either way, at least I'm still consistent with the thing that matters to me, right? Or I could completely give up on it, and then I don't end up with a business, right? I don't have a business anymore. I don't have a passion project, right? Because I do these videos as like, honestly, partially for my own mental health, right? These videos are good for my mental health as well as it's my business. So I don't have an outlet for my mental health. I don't have a business. I don't have any of this now based on the response. So the things seem negative. Oh, I lost a channel. That should be a detriment. That should be a negative thing. But in reality, as negative as that seems, as like scary as that may seem, well, the thing is, what choices are you going to make in response? Because I can't like undo it. I mean, if you can, do it, right? If I could go and like file an appeal and be like, hey, when my account get taken down, can we get it like put back up, or can we make it live again, like, you know, whatever. But most of the time, let's just assume it's gone for good. If you're not going to get it back, you're not going to get your channel back. You're not going to get, you're not going to be able to just magically start back from where you are. So you have a choice. You're going to either start from scratch or you're going to give up. And the choice you make determines the outcome. Meaning the situation is negative in reflection to your perception of it and then the actions you take as a result. So why is it that a lot of our minds have actually become so chaotic? So the problem that a lot of people have when making these decisions is that their mind is just completely chaotic. Their minds are all over the place. And a lot of this comes from, we have a lot of very highly concentrated drugs nowadays. A lot of people are drinking alcohol, and a lot of it very young, right? A lot of people are into all of this over-sexualization culture, which spiritually is very, very overwhelming, I guess, because if you understand the nature of soul ties and spiritual ties, you're basically picking up, like, you know, if you have sex with 10 different people, you're picking up 10 different people's energy and you're carrying it with you everywhere, right? So that can start to make your mind become very chaotic. That can make your field very chaotic and all over the place, as well as like scrolling on TikTok and social media a lot. A lot of people are absorbing or consuming a lot of information, but they're not digesting or processing that information. So that can create a level of overwhelm and chaos in the brain, right? You might be going to make a decision and you may have 3 different TikToks in your brain, all of which are conflicting on what the best decision to make would be. That's something I suffered with a lot because I used to watch a lot of information-based TikToks. So I didn't just watch stuff for fun. I would watch stuff based on like learning. When I was still addicted to TikTok, I was watching self-improvement content, but it was short-form content anyways. When I was doing that, I would go and I'd like think about, you know, a decision about my habits or my lifestyle or whatever. And instead of just sitting there with myself and thinking about like what I actually would want to do, I was basically conflicted because there was 1 or 2 different videos that I was thinking of that said 2 completely different things, or maybe it was 3 videos, but multiple different things completely conflicting with each other, making it impossible to make a decision. And at the end of the day, the only thing you can do is obviously go with what you think is best, but it becomes a lot harder to make that decision when your brain's like completely overwhelmed, completely overcompensating. So there's a lot of different examples for why our brains have become chaotic, but the main thing is that we're so deep into these addictions, yet not a lot of us are actually taking steps back or taking steps out of those addictions. We're just going deeper into them, which is why like everybody's all over the place, right? People are so chaotic, it seems, right? A lot of people have a lot of negativity, a lot of irritation, right? You definitely got to be careful on the roads, right? Because if you fuck with the wrong person on the roads, like people can really crash out. And that's because everybody's dysregulated. That's because our nervous systems are dysregulated, our minds are dysregulated, our emotions are dysregulated all across the board, and everybody's burnt out too. So there's no time to rest and actually like go through a process of regulating your nervous system. So because of that, everybody's kind of all over the place, it seems. Our minds have become truly chaotic, and that is the result of the modern day, right? That is our modern day habits, and a lot of people, it's because of the inability to step back. So, like, for example, not a lot of people are really meditating anymore. A lot more people are starting to meditate from what I've been able to notice, and that's kind of the purpose of this channel, is to get more people into things like meditation. But the reality is the great majority are not meditating, which is why there's no decompression. So it's like, if you do drugs, for example, if I smoked weed tonight and then I wake up the next day tomorrow, well, normally at least me, I'm going to want to take a day to kind of recover. I'm going to want to kind of allow the drug to process out of my body so I can feel like clear again, like feel like myself again. Whereas it's basically like a lot of people are taking in all of this information into their brains, all of this stress, all of this energy, and then not taking the time to process it out. And instead, if I was to smoke weed tonight and then wake up the next morning and start smoking, ripping right off the bat, first thing in the morning, and I keep it going all day, and then I do it all day the next day, like eventually you're going to be fried the fuck out, and it's going to take longer to process that amount of weed out of your system than it would be just smoke once tonight and then let it process out starting the next day. That's basically what a lot of people are going through, right? The meditation is the decompression, the release of the energy. So how to find inner peace even through difficult times. Finding inner peace is really about learning how to be grounded within yourself, right? So being grounded internally, but also about removing aspects of or thoughts within your mind, right? Feelings in your body, emotional states, being able to actively and consciously move nervous energy, things like this, right? So the important thing to remember here is that when you are going through something difficult, on the outside, it looks like everything is going wrong, right? When you look externally, it seems as though everything is going wrong. So the only way to really feel through that or feel past that is to go inwards, right? Is to feel inwards. Whatever you feel internally is probably the outcome that you're going to manifest and going to create as a result of this negative situation. So for example, I went through a breakup about 8 months ago-ish. I can't really remember exactly when, but I am still with this girl now, but I was with her for just about 4 years at this point. We broke up, and that's a 4-year-long relationship. The only girl I've been with since I was 15. The first girl I was ever with, actually, and then the only girl I've been with since. 4 years straight, consistent relationship, hard work, like really put in effort to create this relationship and build this relationship, and we broke up over like pretty much mutual reasons. Like we had an agreement that certain things didn't slide, certain things still happened. We ended up breaking up, and then we worked on those things. We got back together. But the reason that was able to happen, right, the reason we were able to end up back together was because when we first broke up, externally, obviously, everything is all over the place. Everything feels scary, right? Everything feels overwhelming. But for a moment, I kind of just sat with myself, and I was like, well, who do I got now? I got God and I got me. So I kind of like prayed a little bit, and I kind of turned to God, and I just like waited to see, because I had a feeling that God had something to say to me through this experience. And then that's why it was happening. And the moment I did turn over to God and look to God, I felt this like overwhelming feeling of peace. Right? Overwhelming feeling of peace. Why? Because God created that situation specifically as a lesson, right? God wanted me to grow through that experience. So he wasn't taking something away from me, right? He wasn't removing the relationship I had actually envisioned and actually wanted. He was removing the parts of me that didn't allow that to be through the breakup, right? And obviously you don't figure all of that out in the moment, but I just knew to trust the process and knew to stay grounded within myself, keep and maintain this inner peace. And through that, because of the person I became as a result of being peaceful internally with all of this happening, I was actually able to not just get her back, but I became the person that we were now able to get back together and actually have a stable relationship now. And like at this point, we were building all of the things that we wanted to be building before but couldn't and were blocked from. And all of that happened because of my state of peace. But if that situation came about, right, if that situation happened, and then as a result or in response to that situation, I got upset, I got pissed, I got irritated, I was like, fuck this, and I could go and, smoke weed, watch porn, watch, bad, not bad videos, but like short form content, which is bad dopamine, eat a bunch of shitty food, and then like go out and like party with friends of mine that I haven't hung out with since I started partying, and like go down a bad path as like an outlash or a backlash. But then I become the person that she then can say, yeah, I was right for leaving, right? This is one example across the board, but the key here is that when you're going through these difficult times, your internal state is what determines the outcome. Your internal state is what actually allows you to navigate the situation in a way where you can grow from it, learn, adapt, or you can become the person who's going to be crushed by the negative situation and the difficult time that you're having. So when you are going through something difficult, you find inner peace by seeing past what's happening right now. You see past the difficult emotions, the difficult feelings of right now, and you look to who you're becoming. You look to the actions that you're taking and your ability to rely on those actions. You look to the vision of the future, and you look to God. And the main thing to remember is simply just that everything that you're going through, all of the negative things that you are experiencing, all of the negative things that you're going through, right? They are temporary, and they are there to test you and to allow you growth, right? They are for your benefit, not your detriment. And when you have that mentality, right, a growth mentality, when you have that mindset, it's way easier to just look at a negative situation and use it as an excuse to go inwards and just ground yourself in a state of inner peace and presence, because that is the place where you will be able to navigate the situation best. So using meditation to keep your mind centered. As you guys know, I always end on a practical step, right? And for this one, the main thing and the only thing is meditation, right? Meditation is going to be the key as far as removing negative thoughts, removing negative emotions, letting them go, centering your mind, keeping your mind clear and present, right? Seeing the situation from a conscious perspective and not an egoic perspective, or rather not taking everything personally and actually being able to observe the situation as it is. Things like this are all going to be the result of meditation, which actually leads us to being able to navigate these negative situations a lot better and with a lot more peace of mind. Because when we meditate, we clear the unnecessary thoughts and we become present. And as a result of being fully present, we can actually navigate most of these situations fairly easily. So that is all I have for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel. For those of you who were paying attention, or if you watched all the way to the end, you can leave a comment and just summarize the video. Let me know like main points that you were able to gather. I just like to see what important information is coming from these videos, or what parts are really received and what parts may have been discarded, just to help me to make the videos better in the future. So that is all I have for this video. If you want to work with me one-on-one, that first link is in the description. But other than that, I'm out of here. Peace.